It's been a crazy year in not only the real estate markets, but the financial markets as well. But out of this disturbance, there's really been a pattern that's emerging of great opportunities and investments in real estate that honestly just weren't here 24 months ago, 12 months ago here in San Antonio when you were paying over list, there were no concessions and no negotiations at all. So I personally believe that the first quarter of 2023 is going to offer a lot of really great opportunities for buyers that are ready. And so that's why I wanted to put this video together so that we could discuss a little bit about what's going on in the market and where I see our future going. Now, obviously these opportunities aren't going to be at every house and they're not going to be for every buyer, but for those buyers that can take advantage of it, I really feel like this will be a great chance to add to your rental portfolio, to build your wealth, to get some really great bargains that you might not otherwise see. And really what piqued my interest into getting this video put together was the fact that Wall Street and a lot of cash-rich investors are positioning themselves so that they can take advantage of this exact same thing in this coming year. And meanwhile, mainstream public, they really are sitting on the sidelines, paralyzed by fear with what they're seeing in the media and the negativity that's surrounding the housing market. Just to give you an example of myself, I own my primary residence. I also have several short-term Airbnb style rentals and multiple rental properties. And I will say that I've worked hard in my life in many different capacities, but without a shadow of a doubt, the strategy that has made me the most money over the years has been real estate. I love the fact that it is positive cash flow, or some would say passive income, comes straight to my inbox. We all know that passive income is the best kind of income, but it also helps you create wealth, build your bottom line, and it's a great part of just a retirement strategy as you are thinking about your golden years. So there are obvious benefits in owning real estate, like appreciation and the amortization and depreciation and things that happen over time. But equity in your pocket each year on your balance sheet is also something that should be considered and definitely a strong part of owning residential real estate. So the game plan for today's video is that we're going to look at a couple properties that I found in my multiple listing service in real time and just kind of go over those historically, talk about a little bit of who are the players in our market and where you can find these great deals, where you can research them online, and talk a little bit about the science in evaluating them. And then lastly, we'll talk a bit about financing as well, because we all know the rates are higher right now, but I can't drive home enough the importance of the fact that even though rates are higher, you're going to be paying less than you would have 12 months ago. And that negotiating power will help you get things like seller concessions, the discount off of the sales price, and ultimately, while you can't pay a different price for the home, you can't go back in time, you'll have many options to to renegotiate your interest rate as they go down and make it something that would create even larger cash flow for you in the future. And the last thing that I wanted to touch on today will be the financing and how to structure the deal. While the interest rates have gone up, we all know that, there are loan programs that will help you capitalize on buying down a lower interest rate. There are always creative finance solutions like seller financing and other things that may be available to you to help you acquire your investment properties. Now, at any point during this video, if you feel like you've heard enough and you're ready to talk to me, please feel free to skip to the end. We've got a link to the bottom where we could set up a calendar meeting and discuss your specific situation and your scenario and how you would like to take advantage of the opportunities that will be coming your way in this first quarter of 2023. Now, here's the thing. Real estate has been up the past couple years, and so this slowdown that we're seeing is definitely not unusual. Unlike the 2008 market correction or crash that we had, we're not in that same position here at all. In fact, if you look historically I did another video on this that you can look on in my YouTube channel, but if you look historically at the past 5 recessions, the only one that's been tied to the housing market was that of 2008. So typically housing is largely unaffected during any kind of economic recession. So now I'm going to show you a few key data points that I found online from some houses that are here in the San Antonio market. So next I'm going to show you a few key data points, clues to about where our market is headed, and I'm going to get into the opportunities, and so that's going to be really important that you stick around for those. Now, as I said earlier, some of the major players in Wall Street are gearing up for a big 2023 acquisition. Blackstone has just raised a massive capital campaign to go out and buy homes, and recently JP Morgan Chase announced that they have more than $1 billion that they're going to be investing in single-family homes in the year 2023. So that might lead you to the question of, well, why are these big institutions buying? And really the bottom line is they know that there's a pullback, that there's a cool down, and so they can come and take advantage of this lower pricing to get into the markets for the next run up. And really that's an important thing to think about, because if we look at San Antonio as we continue to grow and the trajectory continues to be adding to our population each and every day in our city, the demand for housing is going to jump back up, and those people that have been on the sidelines renting are going to be even further priced out because the home prices will continue to appreciate. So let's look at interest rates. Interest rates have been the single biggest factor in our cool off this year. The government was buying backed securities, and that went away very quickly and took our market rates from 3 to 6% in a few short months. We've seen a little bit of up and down in the past few months, but ultimately the mortgage rates are going to move with inflation. So now that we're seeing inflation start to cool off a little bit, but ultimately the mortgage rates are going to move with inflation. And so now that we've seen the mortgage rates ultimately the mortgage rates are going to move with the inflation. And now that we're kind of starting to see that inflation is cooling, the interest rates are going to start to come back down a little bit. So Wall Street and the cash-rich investors, they're going to be looking for assets that they can acquire for the long term, that will cash flow for them and that they can put into their portfolio. You can do this too. There's no reason that it should be exclusively for those with lots of money. So let me teach you a few quick tips and tricks of things to be looking at while you're out evaluating deals. You may say, well, how do I find a good deal? And the first thing I would tell you is you need to find a motivated seller. Probably for many of you is very obvious, but looking for high days on market, for lots of price reductions. Some agents will even put motivated seller right in the captions, and so you know that these people need to move. The homes are empty. They've moved on to new homes, new cities, and this real estate is just something that's got to move. Another type of motivated seller might be an institutional investor that is here in our city, or a builder. They obviously have Wall Street to answer to, and they move at a much more methodical and emotion-free level than maybe some homeowners might. So I want you to take a look at this house that I found here and just show you kind of the example of what you might be seeing. So Opendoor has bought a bunch of properties here in the past couple years. In fact, if you can see here on the screen, this is a quick Bexar County search, and there's over 450 Opendoor homes that are owned by Opendoor in our city right now. So I would say that they're a major player in our market. These may become great deals now because they've been on the market for a little bit longer, and the owner, Opendoor, might be just more willing to negotiate than they were last year in the heat of our competitive market. Let me show you one of my favorite personal zip codes to invest in is 78247. So I'm going to show you a quick Zillow screenshot of a house that I found in 78247 in one of my favorite neighborhoods, Fox Run, just inside 1604, and let you check it out so you can see what I'm talking about. This house has been listed for almost a year. It was listed at the end of last February in 2022. You know that these people mean business, and it's time to start cutting their losses. They've lowered the property price on this, as you can see here, over $100,000 almost $100,000 in the time that they've had it as their tenure. It needs a little help with some of the cosmetic updates, but it's a great location and you can't change that. The property is actually pretty nice, but it does need some work on the cosmetics. It would be a great starter home or a rental property if you're looking to add into your portfolio. This thing was listed way too high. It's been sitting in the market for almost a year and was actually in escrow in the summer, but then fell through, and now they've cut the price nearly $100,000 from when it was first listed at the end of February 22. Clearly, the big investor I just mentioned is going to be willing to negotiate on this specific property. I think that you get the idea on this one. It's a great price now. They've come down a lot, but there's also other properties that Opendoor owns in our city, and many of them are on the higher end of the spectrum. For those of you that are more interested in a primary residence or a higher end investment property, I am seeing this same kind of activity on the $500,000+ market. In some cases, I'm seeing even hundreds of thousands of dollars in lowering of prices in the past few months. So I think at every price point, my message for you is there are motivated sellers and they are out there to be had. So now the question to answer is, how do you find these deals, and where are they? How do you search for them and analyze? If you want to go beyond just easy Zillow search or MLS search, which I'm more than happy to set you up on, there's this website here, PropStream, and it gives you some great ways to filter your data on what homes are available and what kind of terms are also available but from sellers. This will give you a great idea. Really, I'd love to take some time to go one-on-one with you and discuss your individual needs for this exact application. So now that you've found the deal, how do you determine what to offer? And obviously each house is going to be different. It's going to depend on the comparable sales in the market, what things have sold, for what other concessions have been happening. As a general blanket, we're seeing in some areas of town you see as much as a 10% discount, but other areas could have very little, if not any discount, just depending on the supply and demand, obviously your basic economics lesson. So beyond the price, I wanted to just kind of visit with you on the other offer structures that you could be considering while you're making this investment. This is the time to be price sensitive on what you pay for the property, but there are several ways to do that. You can do that in the way of seller credits, where they help you buy down the interest rate, concessions towards repairs or things that you know need to be done in the house, closing cost assistance. Those things are all back in play right now in our 2023 market. One example, which perhaps you've heard a little bit about, is the 2-1 buy down, where it's a temporary rate buy down. It's usually for the first 2 years, but there are many different products. But I'd be happy to connect you with a great local lender who could also give you the product information that is available out there in the market. There's some really great creative investment ideas and loans that are specifically investor driven. You also might be able to find someone on the off chance that will do some owner financing for you, or some subject to financing. Those deals are a little harder to come by, but yes, they do exist and they are becoming more popular now. The interest rates have gone up and the market has shifted. So if you have any questions on the topics that we've covered in this video, please feel free to reach out. We can go over your specific scenario. We can go over what it's like to be a real estate investor. I've been in real estate investing in residential rentals since 1999, so I've been around the block a couple times. I have a couple scary stories to tell you, but I also have lots of really great information that I'd love to share with you, and how this can help change your future and your personal trajectory of wealth. Being a landlord is a great opportunity for passive income, as I've already said, and really for some strategic tax advantages. So I would love to talk to you, discuss the 2023 market and the great opportunities that I see, if you are willing to take advantage of, will really make a difference in your trajectory in finance and investing. So I hope you find this video helpful, and if you have any questions, please reach out, and have a wonderful 2023.